let's examine why Gavin Newsom is California governor now, so we can laugh at the Republicans for being pissed off that this liberal nutbag is now going to destroy California with liberal policies. There will be more illegal aliens, more gun control, blah blah blah. Your average hard-working middle-class Republican has no clue that they're living in a Judeo-Freemasonic dictatorship disguised as a democracy. But that's plainly evident to any truther. What is not so evident, and what Zach Hubbard uncovered, is this childish Gematria code by which they stage almost every major news event, including every election that happens out there. Voting is pointless. Who gets into power at what time is all scripted decades in advance. Let's look at the gematria of Gavin Newsom's name. Just Gavin Newsom by itself. What jumps out immediately is the number 52. If you have pirated Zach Hubbard's book like I have, you can look up a lot of special numbers very easily. You see, when they built this country, they had it arranged so words like NWO, the Cabal, White House, and President all summed to 52. But most importantly, California has a 52 as well. Another thing that jumps out is when you use the entire name, Gavin Christopher Newsom, you get a 119. It's been set up so words like orthodox, foundation, all-seeing eye, master plan, and I even threw Call of Duty in there, all sum to 119. His opponent was John Cox, and if you put in his name with the middle initial John H. Cox, you get a 119 too. But the number I really want to focus on is the 115. You see how Gavin Newsom's full name in reverse full reduction equates to 115? What's kind of interesting is that when you put in the phrase Governor of California, you get a 115. How appropriate. That phrase also has a 223 in it, like the Synagogue of Satan. Maybe that's why California is the leading state in all the oppressive agendas. But here is the biggest kicker about the number 115. John Herman Cox's birthday is July 15th, and the California gubernatorial election was held on November 6th. So Gavin Newsom defeated John Cox on November 6th. Do you see how Gavin Christopher Newsom comes out to 115? Okay, between John Cox's birthday and the election day, it was 115 days, so Gavin Newsom defeated him on the 115th day of his age. And this is not random. This is a pattern that goes back several gubernatorial elections in California, most likely all of them, maybe everywhere in every state. Now, something else about Gavin Newsom is that he will officially assume the office of governor on January 7, 2019. It's very interesting how that date relates to the August 11, 2019 date, where Zach Hubbard is pointing out how our government might destroy the Golden Gate Bridge as another 9/11 type event. When August 11, 2019 rolls around, Gavin Newsom will have been in office for 216 days. Now, what is 216? Well, 216 relates to the number of the beast, 666. 6 times 6 times 6 equals 216. If they're going to pull a false flag terrorist attack in the state, that's perfect right there to have the governor of the state be in office for 216 days when it happens as part of the ritual. Another interesting note about the 216 days is that it is also 7 months and 4 days. So 7 and 4, like 74. And 74 is a big number to those who rule us. Some of the essential words that add up to 74 are Masonic, Jewish, Lucifer, and killing. By the way, Gavin Christopher Newsom and Lucifer are both 115. So it's pretty good with how the numbers line up with some sort of a false flag terrorist attack they might pull in San Francisco on August 11, 2019. Also, it's interesting if you look at how Arnold Schwarzenegger and the phrase Governor of California also overlapped, and how Arnold Schwarzenegger sums up to 223, which is another big important number to our rulers, because a phrase like the Synagogue of Satan adds up to 223. Another thing that everyone thought was coincidental, but just points to how scripted everything in the government is, Arnold Schwarzenegger won the seat of governor in a recall election, which had a joke attached to it where the election was called Total Recall, which was one of his movies. The Running Man was another one of his movies, and he was called the Running Man for governor. By the way, when a recall election happens, it's part of a ritual. It's not because it was the will of the people. Don't be fucking fooled. I bet the only reason the recall election happened was so that Total Recall can be used as the joke in relation to Arnold Schwarzenegger becoming governor. And the election to recall Gray Davis was held on October 7, 2003. Arnold's opponent was Cruz Bustamante, and he had his birthday on January 4th. You see how Arnold Schwarzenegger's name, Gematria, in reverse ordinal comes out to 317? Well, when Arnold officially started his governorship in office, it was on November 17. Now, like I said, Bustamante was born on January 4th, right? And between January 4th and November 17th, it's 317 days. So he was defeated by Arnold on the 317th day of his age. Do you see it now? What about when Jerry Brown ran against Meg Whitman in 2011? Meg Whitman's birthday is August 4th. That election was held on November 2nd. Between August 4th and November 2nd was 91 days. Jerry Brown defeated Meg Whitman on the 91st day of her age. Now here is Jerry Brown's full name. It's Edmund Gerald Brown, Jr. You see how in full reduction that adds up to 91? Do you begin to see a pattern here? Let's go for one more. I believe it was in 1998 that Gray Davis ran against Dan Lundgren. Dan Lundgren's birthday is September 22nd. That election was held on November 3rd, and from Dan Lundgren's birthday to November 3rd was 43 days. You see how Gray Davis is 43 in full reduction? Gray Davis, who was the winner of that election. Now let's go back to a 1982 election where we had George Deukmejian as the winner, whose opponent that lost to him was Tom Bradley. Tom Bradley's birthday was December 29. Between December 29th and November 2nd, when the election was held, is 308 days. So Tom Bradley was beaten on the 308th day of his age. George Deukmejian's full name is Corkin George Deukmejian Jr., and I had to play around with his name a little, but if we simply go with George Deukmejian Jr., that sums up to 308 in reverse ordinal. So if you don't see the pattern, let me go over it again. John Cox was defeated on the 115th day of his age by Gavin Newsom. Gavin Christopher Newsom equals 115 in reverse full reduction. Cruz Bustamante was defeated on the 317th day of his age. Arnold Schwarzenegger is 317 in reverse ordinal. Meg Whitman was beaten by Jerry Brown on the 91st day of her age. Jerry Brown's full name, Edmund Gerald Brown, Jr., sums to 91 in full reduction. Dan Lundgren was beaten by Gray Davis on the 43rd day of his age. Gray Davis equals 43 in full reduction. Tom Bradley was beaten by George Deukmejian on the 308th day of his age. George Duke Magian Jr. equals 308 in reverse ordinal. You see how everything is scripted by this Gematria code now? All the elections are rigged by this code. I wonder if this same pattern continues all the way back to the start of California, and this is the same for every other state as well. By the way, just to solidify the pattern even further, you can see how the first openly gay governor has been elected in Colorado, again by Gematria. You see how his full name comes out to 206? He defeated his opponent on the 206th day of his opponent's age.